The 15 highest-earning Marvel movies. Welcome to Alux.com, the place where future billionaires come to get inspired. If you're not subscribed yet, you're missing out. Hello Aluxers, and welcome back for another original video presented to you by our team here at Alux.com. Today we're talking about Marvel, a dominant force in the movie industry. As of the end of 2019, there are 23 Marvel Cinematic Universe films, and of these, only 2 are not among the top 50 highest-grossing superhero films. Those 2 are Captain America: The First Avenger and The Incredible Hulk, in case you're wondering, and both of those films brought in over $250 million, which just goes to show how lucrative the superhero genre is. Marvel has claimed the top 5 highest-earning superhero films of all time. DC is their main competitor, but it's not even close. DC only has 2 of the top 10 highest-grossing superhero movies, while the other 8 films on the list are all Marvel. Marvel also has the only superhero film to surpass $2 billion at the box office, and in fact it actually has 2 films that have reached this milestone, but more on that later. Today we're running through the list of the 15 highest-earning Marvel movies and see just where your favorite stands, even if it made the list. Just to note though, these figures have not been adjusted for inflation and have not been rounded to the nearest million or billion, just keep that in mind. With that said, let's get started. Number 15. Spider-Man, $821 million. We start off our list with one of the Marvel characters that's been around the longest. This creation of Stan Lee has always been a fan favorite, but production on this film was held up for almost 25 years until Sony acquired the rights to the character. Once Spider-Man was finally released in 2002 by Sony and Marvel Enterprises, it became the first film ever to bring in $100 million in a single weekend, and it actually even passed that by earning nearly $115 million in its first 3 days. In total, Spider-Man grossed over $821 million worldwide. Number 14. Thor: Ragnarok, $854 million. Thor: Ragnarok, released in 2017, was the third and most successful Thor movie to be produced by Marvel Studios. The production budget totaled $180 million, but the film brought in almost 5 times that at the box office, with a total gross of just under $854 million. The next title in the series, Thor: Love and Thunder, is expected to be released in November 2021. Number 13. Venom, $856 million. The first known script for a Venom movie dates back to 1997, when Dolph Lundgren was originally slated to play the character. But then the rights to Venom were transferred to Sony along with Spider-Man, and the idea was shelved for many years. Sony planned on releasing a series of films featuring Venom, and the first film draft was written around 2008. The script went through several different rewrites before Sony was ready to produce the film in association with Marvel Entertainment. The film was finally released in 2018 and earned $856 million, a nice return for its $100 million production budget. Number 12. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, $836 million. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 outpaced the first film in the franchise and brought in $91 million more at the box office, with a total gross of $863 million. If you're a fan of the film, you can look forward to Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, but you'll have to be patient as it isn't scheduled to be released until 2022. Number 11. Spider-Man: Homecoming, $880 million. After a bit of a dispute, Marvel Studios and Sony reached a deal in February 2015 to share the character rights of Spider-Man. This gave Marvel the opportunity to reboot the franchise with Tom Holland playing the title character. Spider-Man: Homecoming was released in 2017 and was the 6th highest-grossing film of that year, bringing in $880 million. Number 10. Spider-Man 3, $891 million. One of the earliest films from the Marvel Cinematic Universe on this list, Spider-Man 3 was released in 2007 after a long 3-year wait following the release of Spider-Man 2. People flocked to the theater to see the final installment of this Tobey Maguire-led trilogy, bringing in an impressive $891 million worldwide. Its production budget was a steep $258 million, which made it the most expensive film ever made up to the time of its release. Number 9. Captain Marvel, $1.128 billion. Captain Marvel, the first female-led superhero film released by Marvel, was an immediate hit at the box office. Actress Brie Larson played the main role, and she had to share several scenes with a cat named Goose. In reality, though, when she was interacting with the cat, it was her stunt double because Larson is very allergic to felines. But no matter, the film went on to earn over $1 billion, and it was the first female-driven superhero film to do so. Number 8. Spider-Man: Far From Home, $1.131 billion. This sequel to Spider-Man: Homecoming was released in 2019 and became the first Spider-Man film to surpass the $1 billion benchmark. Spider-Man: Far From Home remains Sony Pictures' highest-grossing film. The film was made with a $160 million budget, and it brought in $185 million in just the first 6 days in theaters. The next film in the series is slated to be released in July of 2021. Number 7. Captain America: Civil War, $1.153 billion. The writers of Captain America: Civil War, Christopher Marcus and Stephen McFeely, originally had a very different vision for the film that didn't feature the Avengers, but Marvel Studios president Kevin Feige steered them in a different direction. T'Challa from Black Panther was also only supposed to play a minor role, but his part was expanded because Marvel wasn't sure if they would have the rights to Spider-Man at the time the film was released. The movie cost $250 million to make and brought in over $1.1 billion worldwide. Number 6. Iron Man 3, $1.2 billion. After Iron Man 2 was released, there was a major dispute between Paramount Pictures and the Walt Disney Company over who would have the distribution rights for a third Iron Man film. Ultimately, Disney ended up paying $115 million to Paramount for the worldwide distribution rights for Iron Man 3 back in 2010 before the film was even created. It was released in 2013 and brought in $1.2 billion in earnings worldwide. Number 5. Black Panther, $1.3 billion. Wesley Snipes was in talks to play Black Panther in a film back in 1992, but that never quite came to be. 26 years later, Marvel released Black Panther starring Chadwick Boseman, and we think it's safe to say the timing was right for this story to be told. After spending approximately $200 million on production, the film brought in $1.3 billion at worldwide box offices. Number 4. Avengers: Age of Ultron, $1.4 billion. Avengers: Age of Ultron was released in 2015 as the anticipated sequel to the original Avengers movie. It quickly became the 5th highest-grossing film up to that point, with a worldwide gross of $1.4 billion. A more significant figure is how much the film actually cost to make. With an estimated budget of $365 million, it's the second most expensive film ever produced, behind Pirates of the Caribbean on Stranger Tides. Number 3. The Avengers, $1.5 billion. The Avengers broke box office barriers in 2012, and Marvel was gambling a bit on the success of the film. They started making the Avengers before either Thor or Captain America was released, and they were just counting on audiences to embrace these characters. They had $220 million invested into the budget, and it paid off big time, with $1.5 billion in earnings. And it was this that set up the rest of the Avengers franchise for massive success. Number 2. Avengers Infinity War, $2 billion. Avengers Infinity War was released in 2018 as a follow-up to the Age of Ultron. The exact amount of the production budget isn't known, but it's estimated to be between $316 and $400 million. It was the first superhero film to bring in over $2 billion, and it became the 4th highest-grossing film of all time, with its over $2 billion in earnings worldwide. However, it only held the top spot at Marvel for a brief period before it was replaced by the next film on our list. Number 1. Avengers Endgame, $2.8 billion. Well, Aluxers, we've reached number 1 on our list, and it's not only the highest-earning Marvel film of all time, but also the highest-grossing film of all time. Avengers Endgame was a highly anticipated film that was released in 2019, serving as the culmination of a 22-film story arc. It was originally titled Avengers Infinity War Part 2, but that title was eventually scrapped. It's a good thing it was such a massive success, as if there were any question it would be, because this is one of the most expensive films ever made, with a production budget of $356 million. Its earnings surpassed those from Infinity War, just after 11 days in theaters. In total, the film brought in an incredible $2.8 billion worldwide. And that wraps up our list, Aluxers. These top 15 highest-earning films have collectively brought in over $18.5 billion, and this doesn't even include the many other successful films that have been created in the Marvel Universe. Now that we've reached the end of this list, we'd like to know, what's your favorite Marvel film that did make the list? And which one's your favorite that didn't? Let us know in the comments. And of course, for sticking with us until the end, here's the bonus fact you're waiting for. If you had to identify one person that's responsible for the massive success of Marvel films over the past 10 years, it would be Kevin Feige. He's been the president of Marvel Studios since 2007, and the films he's produced collectively have a worldwide box office gross of over $26.8 billion. At just 46 years old, his estimated net worth exceeds $150 million. Thank you for spending some time with us, Aluxers. Make sure to like and subscribe so you never miss another video. We also handpicked these videos, which we recommend you watch next. You can talk to us on all social medias or ask a question on our website, Alux.com. Thank you for being an Aluxer, and we'll see you back tomorrow.